President of the West Regional Football League has distanced himself from the suspension slammed on him by Fecafoot President Samuel Etofis. Mr. Kwedem says his name is Kwedem Francois and not Kwedem Norbert, as stated by a letter allegedly signed by Samuel Etofis. The boss of football in the West region, through a release, he has reiterated that he is the legitimate president of the West Regional League and was clearly elected by the Regional Assembly. He suspects that some people at the level of the Fecafoot Central Body are abusing their powers by trying to destabilize the federation. And Fecafoot is yet to react to this. Some 300 refugees in Cameroon from the Central African Republic have voluntarily returned to their countries. It was on June 1 at the common border between Cameroon and the Central African Republic that the Cameroon Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, met together with the Central African Minister of Humanitarian Action, Solidarity and National Reconciliation, Virginie Baekwa, to bid farewell to the various convoys of Central African refugees. Minister Paul Atanganji ensured the implementation of measures to accompany the refugees to their destinations. Visually and hearing impaired journalists yesterday held a roundtable discussion to raise awareness in access to information. This was in Yaoundé at the Pro Handicap Center in Mimboman. This roundtable discussion was under the leadership of the group Media Leader Press on the occasion of the presentation of its new editorial project on the establishment of a web radio. Yesterday's meeting has as theme Inclusion at the Heart of Information. The idea is to learn a number of technical and linguistic mechanisms in the exercise of the journalistic profession for those with disabilities. In a bid to evaluate regional and anti-corruption plans from 2012 to 2022, the National Anti-Corruption Commission opened a workshop yesterday, June 1, presided over by CONAC President in the presence of the representative of the Littoral Governor and other administrative authorities. Moni Emanuela tells us more.
10 years after its creation, and also to strategize on the way forward to better fight corruption in Cameroon.
We think that it is not for us a joke, but it is something which is very important. If we continue to fight, if you continue to be on the field, if you continue to go to rich regions, it is because we have not yet get. When they create these cells so as to fight second corruption, we think that it is not good to put inside those who have some relationship with the deciders. It must be those who are really integer, those who really are engaged to fight against corruption.
Corruption is a cankerworm that has eaten deep into our society. CONAC has contributed so much in the fight against this phenomenon in Cameroon by prevention, implantation of rapid results initiatives, as well as the recovery of funds. The committee aims at reaching at least 50% in its fight in the littoral region.
If we can appreciate, we can say that what we have already done with a population is to appreciate, also to congratulate, but the level is still low and we must improve it. We must improve, we must reach more than 50%.
The classification of Cameroon as the most corrupt country in the world in 1998 and 1999 made the government more willing than ever to fight corruption in the country, and so far it has been satisfactory.
The National Hydrocarbon Company has denied being associated with corrupt practices, as was accused by Glencore Company in a release signed recently by its Director General Modika. SNH has reiterated its non-involvement in such practices. Join Gong tells us more.
The Hydrocarbons Company has officially reacted to the Glencore corruption scandal, which has been in the news for several days. Glencore Company, a major Anglo-Swiss trading brokerage and commodity extraction company, had earlier pleaded guilty before American and British courts for acts of corruption and manipulation of certain markets. During the court session of May 24, 2022, Cameroon was listed with an alleged amount of 7 billion francs CFA paid to officials of the National Hydrocarbons Company and the National Oil Refinery, Sonara. With pressure mounting from all angles, demanding the implicated enterprises to shed light on the affair, the National Hydrocarbons Company has broken its silence. In a release dated May 30, the director of the National Hydrocarbons Company, Modika, denied the accusations of corruption, insisting that the company is neither directly or indirectly involved in such practices prohibited by its internal regulations. The National Hydrocarbons Company further asserts that petitions have been addressed to American and British authorities for evidence to clarify the case and allocate responsibilities. Meanwhile, the administration of Sonara is yet to react to the allegations. Earlier this week, several Cameroonian politicians, including Joshua Ossi, Maurice Kamto and Barrister Akere Muna, wrote letters imploring the government to open investigations regarding the Glencore corruption scandal.
Notorious armed bandits are apprehended or have been apprehended and presented to the press in Baham West region of the country. This was recently, as Dolingo tells us.
A gang of 4 suspected armed robbers specialized in inter-regional, urban and highway first-class robbery with interest on cars, heavy and light sophisticated electronic gadgets and, of course, fiscal and electronic cash. The regions of operation include the Northwest, Center, Littoral, with the West being their main headquarters. 99 days for a thief, it is said, but just one for the owner. Today is a bad day for these fellows.
À Baham plus particulièrement, nous avons connu les braquages de la boutique MTN à 3 reprises.
Here in Baham particularly, we have witnessed the robbery attack on the MTN shop and that of Global Petroleum, which were all intercepted. Not until the 27th of May this year, during the early hours of the day, that the MTN shop was robbed again. It was at that point that we took dispositions and there was a gunfire exchange in which 2 of the bandits were apprehended immediately and 2 neutralized later on. Their names include
Tamu, alias Commando, et Ndifo Valentine, alias Bankwi. Il y a Mbadinis qu'on a rattrapé au niveau de Bafoussam. Il est actuellement sous soins intensifs à l'hôpital régional de Bafoussam.
This action has been saluted.
C'est le lieu pour moi.
It is in my place to appreciate our collaborators who have demonstrated this high level of professionalism. And at the same time, we are coming to say thank you to the population, which also gave in their collaboration and support to ensure that these persons are brought to book. I appreciate this synergy. Each of the suspects possessed at least 2 American branded guns, explosives, and other harmful weapons to enable their robbery deals as this. Unfortunately, this is the beginning of another stage in their lives.
The rise of arms trafficking and illegal usage in the country is a cause for concern. Many innocent souls have lost their lives, taken away by those owning guns at will. Owning of guns in Cameroon is legal, though law-abiding, as you tell us in this report called Loom.
Owning a gun in Cameroon is not allowed unless legal procedures have been arrived at. A man in the quarters threatened to do away with his neighbor's dog that trespass and destroy his crops with his own gun. Should people own guns and use at every given time is a cause for concern in Cameroon, since after speaking to some Cameroonians behind the camera, they condemn the act of owning guns or using it at will because it jeopardizes the lives of others. On the part of law, what does it take to own a gun?
It is very, very legal to own a gun in Cameroon, but there is a decree that organizes this, the 1973 decree, which gives the possibility for somebody, the conditions under which somebody could purchase own or carry a gun. But now there are many types of guns. You have hunting guns, you have war guns and defensive guns. Now the problem is a person can only be entitled to carry a defensive gun, and you can have this only through the authorization of the Minister of Territorial Administration.
Some city dwellers say owning guns are used for protection from bandits. What is required still on the part of law?
For you to carry a defensive gun, you must have an
tobacco consumption and motivate people to commit to quitting the habit. Dr. Nsungkikang highlights the components of tobacco and its ill to humanity.
Tobacco is what is found in cigarettes or the various types of cigarettes, and it contains just two key components, nicotine and tar. And everything we are talking about tobacco today is about these two components. Of importance this year on World Tobacco Day that was May 31st, we celebrated under the theme tobacco poisoning our planet. The reason for this motion was that a lot of trees have been cleared and a lot of deforestation has taken place by the tobacco industry to produce these cigarettes. And because of that, increased smoke is causing climate change.
Notes that at least 8 million deaths in the world are related to tobacco consumption, with the elderly more exposed to related illnesses.
Tobacco is responsible for at least 8 million deaths annually, and females who smoke are more predisposed to adverse effects. The common health effects that we find out when with chronic smokers would include heart diseases, strokes, heart attacks, and in the long term, lung cancers and even cancers of the kidneys and so on and so forth.
However, the medical practitioner highlights that the concept of secondary smokers cannot be left out.
We want to highlight the concept of secondary smoking. By secondary smoking, I mean the fact that you are a non-smoker, but you are living with someone who is a chronic smoker. So you are at increased risk of having cancer, lung cancer as well, having heart disease, and if you're exposed to secondary smoking. And currently it is reported that annually over 400,000 persons develop a lung cancer who are non-smokers. So this is a very disturbing population, and we need to keep educating people to stay safe from this.
But why does tobacco causes these health effects?
Tar is a carcinogen, so it's able of causing cancer, and so it forms a sheet on our vital organs, the lungs, primarily the heart and so on, and it is what causes the stains that we find in smokers' lips, their fingers, tips, and then teeth as well. So that's what causes those discoloration, and when it happens in the heart, it has the ability, it has those cancer-causing agents that will cause you to have cancer in the long term. Nicotine is an addictive agent, and it increasingly causes increased heartbeat, stresses the heart, and progressively one becomes addicted.
Dr. Nsungkikang advises that
we do not only encourage persons to quit smoking, we encourage those who live around them to support them to quit smoking and also stay safe, because you too are at increased risk of having all of these health conditions because of secondary smoking. And today, it is not just a personal fight; it's a fight to save our planet.
Nonetheless, according to the World Health Organization, about 65% of the world's population is covered by at least one comprehensive tobacco control measure.
Out of the country, a Lagos mountain by name Folake Abiola is reported to have committed suicide at her residence at Osapa, London. Reports say the 48-year-old woman committed suicide due to loneliness, lack of a husband, amongst others. Others have, however, held that she had been suffering from depression for years and that her death has nothing to do with loneliness or lack of a husband. The lady allegedly drank water was suspected to be insecticide. That was it for today's edition of Prime Flash, produced by Elvis, Modika. Thanks for watching, faithful viewers. We take the rendezvous for tomorrow, same time, 9:30 a.m. Meanwhile, stay glued for more programs on the African Eye. Bye.
C'est l'histoire de 4 jeunes femmes ressortissantes des régions différentes et amies depuis l'enfance. Elles vont traverser une période tourbillonnante de leur vie.
Tu es en train de me demander